Sometimes life gives you a moment so sharp, so painfully honest, that you can't unhear it, you can't unsee it, and you certainly can't go back to the person you were before it happened. This video is that moment, because what I'm about to tell you will challenge the stories you've been telling yourself for years. Stories about love, worth, identity, and the quiet battles you've been fighting alone. You think you already know why people behave the way they do. You think you understand what's really happening behind those mixed signals, silent treatments, sudden shifts, and emotional roller coasters. But the truth is, half of what you've accepted as normal has only been conditioning you to tolerate less than you deserve. And today, for the first time, you're going to see the entire pattern with clarity, so sharp it feels like waking up from a long sleep. Stay with me, because if you click off now, you'll slip right back into the cycle you've been trying to escape. You'll miss the exact insight that could have saved you months, maybe years, of confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. What you're about to learn will change the way you respond, the way you set boundaries, the way you choose relationships, and the way you value yourself. This is not just information, it's a recalibration of your entire emotional compass. And once you absorb it, once you feel it land inside you, you will never again be the same person who walked into this video. So take a breath, silence the noise, and listen closely. Because what comes next is the part no one ever told you, but should have. When you really look at attraction without the filters of fantasy or ego, you discover a truth most men never understand. Women are not drawn to comfort, they are drawn to emotional impact, and the difference between those two is massive. Comfort is predictable, impact is unforgettable. Comfort makes her feel safe. Impact makes her feel alive, and human beings, by nature, are wired to pursue what awakens their emotions, not what simply puts them at ease. This is why a woman can receive consistent affection from a man who adores her and still feel nothing, while one unpredictable moment from a man she barely knows can send her thoughts spiraling for days. It isn't because she wants a toxic man or a careless man, it's because she wants a man who activates her inner world, not a man who tiptoes around it. We live in a time where men have been taught that the way to a woman's heart is through constant reassurance, constant availability, constant giving. But what they fail to see is that when you make yourself too easy to reach, you become emotionally invisible. You turn yourself into background noise. It's not that she wants to dismiss you. It's that the human mind naturally tunes out what becomes overly predictable. The men who shock a woman's heart are not the ones who chase her. They are the ones who pull her into a deeper psychological space where she must listen, must feel, must question. She doesn't fall for the man who removes all uncertainty. She falls for the man who awakens a part of her that she didn't even know was asleep. Think about the moments that change you. They are rarely the moments where everything is smooth and easy. They are the moments that disrupt you, challenge you, force you to confront parts of yourself you never had to look at before. Attraction works the same way. A woman doesn't crave emotional pain, she craves emotional intensity. She craves the man who carries himself in a way that interrupts her mental autopilot. When a man approaches her with genuine self-respect, quiet confidence, and emotional independence, he doesn't have to raise his voice or perform. His presence alone creates an internal shift. Suddenly she is aware of herself, how she's speaking, how she's acting, how she's feeling. That internal shift is the emotional impact she chases. And here's something men often misunderstand. Emotional impact does not require you to be distant, unavailable, or dismissive. It requires you to be rooted in your own identity. It requires you to be a man who doesn't bend his values to impress her, who doesn't abandon his boundaries to keep her, who doesn't perform romance as a strategy but expresses it as a sincere extension of who he is. When a woman feels that, she feels something real, something rare, something she cannot manipulate or predict. And that creates a gravitational pull that no amount of chasing or pleasing can ever replicate. When a man gives too much emotional comfort too early, it signals emotional dependence, it signals insecurity, it signals, I need you to feel good about myself. And that instantly lowers attraction because it places emotional responsibility on her shoulders. She is not inspired by that, she is weighed down by it. But when a man provides emotional stability instead of emotional dependence, when he stands firm in who he is, when he is present without being needy and kind without being self-sacrificial, he creates a different kind of comfort, the kind that strengthens her, not suffocates her. Women respond intensely to men who create contrast. A man who is warm but not clingy, confident but not arrogant, present but not desperate, loving but not lost in her. That balance is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. Emotional impact is the difference between the man she forgets and the man she replays in her mind at night. It is the difference between attention and attraction. The man who challenges her inner world without destabilizing it becomes the man she cannot ignore. If you truly want to understand attraction, understand this: a woman is not seeking a man who fills her world. She is seeking a man who lights it up, and she will always be drawn to the man whose presence creates a reaction inside her, a reaction she cannot control, cannot suppress, and cannot easily walk away from. Because in the end, emotional impact is not about playing games. It's about being the kind of man whose energy speaks before his words do, whose presence changes the atmosphere, and whose self-respect forces everyone around him to rise. That is the kind of man she feels, not just sees. That is the kind of man she remembers. And the truth is, simple comfort makes her like you, but emotional impact makes her choose you. When you really observe the dynamics between men and women, you'll notice something that stands out every single time. The men women are most drawn to are the ones who value themselves more than they value her approval. And this isn't arrogance. This isn't ego. This is alignment. A man who carries genuine self-value communicates without even trying that his life is already full, that he has purpose, he has direction, he has standards, he has a backbone, and that alone makes him incredibly attractive. Because a woman doesn't want to be the center of your life. She wants to be drawn into the life you've already built. When a man is too available, too eager, too quick to please, what he unintentionally communicates is that he has placed her above everything, above his growth, above his goals, above his identity. And the second she senses that, the attraction begins to fade, not because she wants a man who ignores her, but because she wants a man who doesn't collapse his entire world just because she walked into it. If your schedule completely opens for her, if your decisions shift the moment she calls, if your emotional state rises and falls based on her attention, you're not showing love, you're showing dependency. And dependency is the fastest way to destroy desire. A woman watches how a man positions himself in his own life before she decides how she will position herself in his. When she sees that you prioritize your mission, your discipline, your health, your future, she recognizes something: you are a man she cannot control. And that is what creates respect. When you value yourself deeply, you stop chasing, you stop over-explaining, you stop negotiating your standards just to keep someone close. And this self-assured energy is what sets you apart from the countless men who try to buy affection through overgiving and availability. Self-value doesn't mean you ignore her. It means you don't forget yourself while pursuing her. It means you don't abandon your path just because you want her to see you. It means your dreams don't shrink because she enters your life. They expand. A man who values himself doesn't text her every minute because he has things to build. He doesn't obsess over when she replies because he has a life that keeps moving. He doesn't beg for affection because he trusts that the right woman will meet him where he stands, not where he kneels. When a woman encounters a man like this, something powerful happens internally. She shifts from analyzing the man to respecting him, and respect is the foundation of long-term attraction. You can create momentary attention with charm, money, looks, or compliments, but the kind of attraction that stays, the kind that makes her show up for you, invest in you, and take you seriously, comes from self-value. Many men misunderstand this. They think women pull away because they weren't loving enough, attentive enough, expressive enough. But often, she's not pulling away because he gave too little. She's pulling away because he gave too much too soon, without requiring anything in return. Women sense when a man's affection comes from strength versus when it comes from fear. Fear-based affection suffocates. Strength-based affection inspires. She doesn't want to feel like she is responsible for your happiness. She wants to feel that she is contributing to the life of a man who was already stable before she arrived. The truth is, when a man values himself, he becomes selective, not picky, selective. He doesn't give every woman access to his energy. He doesn't pour emotional effort into someone who hasn't earned it. And that contrast alone makes a woman rise. She wants to be the woman who earns his attention. Women fall hardest for men they have to show up for, not men who hand themselves over without any standards. And here's the psychological depth most people overlook. When a woman sees that you prioritize your purpose over her, she doesn't feel ignored. She feels safe. Because a man anchored in purpose is emotionally grounded, he is less reactive, he is more disciplined, he is more consistent. She knows he won't crumble under pressure or fall apart during conflict. He brings structure. And structure is what allows a woman to lean in without fear. So understand this clearly. Your self-value doesn't just affect how she sees you. It affects how she behaves with you. A woman will treat you based on the way you treat yourself. If you value yourself at a high level, she will meet you there. If you devalue yourself, she will accept that too. The standard you set for yourself becomes the standard she uses to interact with you. And if there's one thing every man should remember, it's this: when you value yourself, you teach the world how to value you. When you abandon yourself, you give others permission to do the same. If there's one element of attraction that most men underestimate, it's the role of unpredictability. And I don't mean chaos, I don't mean games, and I don't mean manipulation. I mean the psychological truth that predictability kills emotional intensity, and emotional intensity is the heartbeat of attraction. The moment a woman can fully predict how you will respond, how you will react, how you will behave, you stop being someone she feels. You become someone she manages. And being managed is the opposite of being desired. Most men misunderstand consistency. They think consistency means showing up in the same way regardless of context, emotion, or timing. But real consistency lies in your values and your character, not your availability. You can be grounded, reliable, emotionally stable, and still create a dynamic that makes her pay attention. The problem is that many men are taught to be overly predictable as a way to show loyalty or devotion. They reply instantly, they initiate constantly, they always say yes, they always adjust, they always bend, and while their intention is love, what they unintentionally communicate is this: I have nothing else going on. My world revolves around you. That kind of predictability doesn't feel like commitment to a woman. It feels like suffocation. It removes the emotional contrast that attraction needs. Humans crave novelty, challenge, and stimulation. This isn't something you choose. It's something that is biologically wired into you. When you remove all mystery from the dynamic, you remove the layers that make her curious, engaged, and invested. Her mind quiets, her emotions flatten, you become emotionally neutral, and emotional neutrality is the beginning of emotional detachment. Understand something fundamental: a woman doesn't want you to be unpredictable in your intentions. She wants you to be unpredictable in your presence. She wants you to have a life that she can't fully predict. She wants you to have a purpose that exists outside her awareness. She wants to feel that she is being drawn toward a man whose world has depth, momentum, and dimension. That depth naturally creates unpredictability because you're not sitting around waiting for her next move. You're moving. You're growing. You're occupied with something meaningful. Predictability becomes a problem when a man becomes one-dimensional, when everything he does becomes a pattern driven by fear of losing her instead of alignment with who he truly is. When a man becomes predictable because he is trying to secure her, his energy shifts from authentic to performative, and women are unbelievably intuitive at sensing that shift. They can tell when your affection is coming from confidence versus when it's coming from insecurity. When it comes from insecurity, it feels heavy. When it comes from confidence, it feels electric. Emotional unpredictability does something powerful. It keeps her mind engaged. When she doesn't fully know what you'll say, when she can't fully predict how you'll respond, when she isn't certain how you will interpret a situation, she becomes more intentional. She listens more closely. She chooses her words with more care. She invests emotionally because she cannot put you in a box. That mental engagement is what keeps desire alive. It pushes her to show up with her best energy because she senses, consciously or not, that you are a man who requires presence, not passivity. And here's where the psychology becomes even more interesting. Unpredictability is tied to respect. A woman respects a man when she cannot fully control him, when she cannot predict him like a child predicts a parent, when he carries a strength that is familiar yet mysterious, not the mystery of withholding communication or affection, but the mystery of depth, the mystery of a man who lives with intention, discipline, and identity. Predictability becomes dangerous when it signals emotional dependency. When everything you do is structured around making sure she doesn't leave. Women don't fall in love with fear-based devotion, they fall in love with sovereignty. They fall in love with individuality. They fall in love with a man who has edges, not sharp, cruel edges, but the kind of edges that signal he's not afraid to disagree. He's not afraid to say no. He's not afraid to choose himself when necessary. When she knows exactly what she can expect from you every moment of every day, your presence stops stimulating her emotionally. She knows your answers before you say them. She knows your reactions before you express them. And the more predictable you become, the more invisible you become. Attraction thrives in the space between certainty and uncertainty. Too much uncertainty creates anxiety. Too much certainty creates boredom. A man with depth creates the perfect balance of both. He is safe and strong, but not obvious. So remember this, you are not here to be a pattern. You are here to be a presence that stimulates growth, curiosity, and emotional engagement. A presence that she cannot switch off in her mind simply because she understood you too quickly. Keep your depth alive. Keep your purpose alive. Keep your individuality alive. Because the moment you become emotionally predictable is the moment you stop being emotionally desired. And the truth is simple. She doesn't lose interest because you're too good. She loses interest because you became too easy to understand. One of the most misunderstood realities in modern relationships is the connection between respect and attraction. People talk endlessly about chemistry, compatibility, timing, communication, but almost no one talks about the foundation that determines whether a woman will stay, invest, commit, or walk away, her level of respect for a man. And here is the part that shakes people when they hear it for the first time. A woman does not respect a man who values her more than he values himself. She may appreciate him. She may feel safe with him. She may enjoy his presence. But deep attraction cannot exist if she senses that he will compromise his identity just to keep her. A man who values himself over the relationship is not selfish. He is centered. He is balanced. He is grounded in a way that makes a woman feel something rare. The feeling that she is standing in front of a man who cannot be emotionally dominated. When a woman knows that you will not collapse your principles for her attention, She instinctively elevates her behavior. She becomes intentional with her words. She shows up more respectfully. She thinks before acting impulsively. Why? Because she understands that you are not afraid to walk away. And that realization alone shifts the entire dynamic. Men who prioritize themselves often get labeled as detached or unemotional, but the truth is the opposite. They feel deeply, but they don't allow those feelings to override their dignity. They can love a woman intensely without allowing that love to turn into dependence. They can be emotionally available without being emotionally fragile. They can be vulnerable without becoming weak. This is the balance women crave but rarely admit openly. A man who can care without crumbling, love without losing himself, and connect without sacrificing his self-respect. When you value yourself more than the relationship, you stop tolerating behavior that chips away at your identity. You stop accepting excuses. You stop allowing disrespect to slide. Not because you want to punish her, but because you understand something powerful. If you let someone repeatedly cross your boundaries, you are teaching them that your emotional safety is negotiable. And once you send that message, it is incredibly hard to reverse. The moment a woman realizes she can treat you in ways she wouldn't accept from anyone else, she stops seeing you as a man she can admire. Respect grows when a woman sees that you protect your peace, your time, your vision. When she sees you handle conflict with calm strength instead of emotional chaos. When she sees you stand firm even when she tests your limits, not with anger, but with clarity. Women will test your boundaries not because they want to destroy the relationship, but because they want to understand the structure of it. They want to know the emotional walls that keep the relationship stable. When she senses that your boundaries are made of air, she stops trusting you. When she senses that your boundaries are made of iron, she relaxes into them. Here's something most men don't realize. Walking away is not about ending the connection. It's about protecting your self-worth. A man who is unable to walk away loses all negotiation power in a relationship. And negotiation power isn't manipulation, it's the balance of emotional contribution. When you are unable to walk away, you become the one who chases, the one who apologizes unnecessarily, the one who over-explains, the one who tries to fix everything even when you didn't break it. But when you are willing to walk away with dignity and calm, you communicate something far more powerful than words. I choose myself before I choose disrespect. Women don't want men who are indifferent. They want men who are fearless. A fearless man doesn't fear losing a woman because he does not build his identity on whether she stays. His confidence is internal, not borrowed. His worth is self-generated, not dependent. He knows that the right woman will align herself with him, not force him to shrink. He knows that mutual respect is the only environment where love can grow without suffocating. A woman feels safest with a man she respects. She feels most attracted to a man she admires. And admiration comes from strength, not physical strength, not financial strength, but emotional strength. The strength to remain grounded, the strength to uphold standards, the strength to say, I love you, but I love myself too. So remember this, a woman may desire the man who gives her the world, but she will commit to the man who refuses to lose himself while giving it. And the truth is simple, a woman's respect is not earned by loving her more. It is earned by never loving her at the expense of yourself. There is a deeper truth most men never realize about women. Attraction isn't built on what you give her. It's built on what she feels in herself when she is around you. A woman becomes attached to a man not because he offers constant affection, reassurance, or attention, but because he triggers her emotional self-discovery. Women fall for the men who make them feel something new, something intense, something that awakens a part of them they didn't access before. And this emotional experience has nothing to do with external romance and everything to do with internal transformation. A woman doesn't stay for the man who performs. She stays for the man who impacts. And emotional impact comes from a man who knows how to hold space, not with silence, but with depth. A man who listens deeply instead of reacting impulsively. A man who speaks with intention rather than trying to impress. A man who connects to her mind without surrendering his own. When she feels that level of grounded presence, she is drawn in, not because he is emotionally available in the way most men think, but because he is emotionally anchored. He isn't trying to win her. He isn't trying to convince her. He isn't trying to become whatever he thinks she wants. He is simply himself, deeply, unapologetically. And that authenticity penetrates her in a way performative affection never could. What men often miss is this emotional stability is not passive. It is magnetic. When a woman speaks and she feels that you are truly listening, not strategizing, not calculating, not pleasing, but listening with a calm, grounded presence, something opens inside her. She feels seen, not judged, not analyzed, not managed, seen. And being seen is one of the deepest emotional desires women carry, often silently. Most men rush to fix things, to offer solutions, to smooth over conflict. They don't realize that real connection happens when you allow her to express without losing your emotional center. A man who maintains emotional stability in moments of tension creates an environment where a woman can relax into him, not because she wants to depend on him, but because she trusts his inner world. Women instinctively test a man's emotional foundation, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously, because they want to feel the strength behind the affection. If you crumble under pressure, if you react with insecurity, if you panic when she pulls away, she doesn't feel safe, not physically safe, emotionally safe. She cannot open herself to a man who loses himself when emotions rise. But when you remain composed, steady, and self-assured, even when things feel uncertain, she sees a man with internal architecture, not emotional fragility. And that is when attraction deepens, because emotional stability creates psychological polarity. Her emotional complexity and your emotional clarity create a dynamic that draws her toward you. She leans in because she feels the strength she wants to align with. The men who create the deepest emotional bonds are not loud, overwhelming, or dramatic. They are intentional. When they speak with weight. When they listen with presence. When they make decisions, they make them with conviction. They don't raise their voice to establish authority. Their energy establishes authority long before they say a word. And here is the most shocking truth: the men women obsess over are not the ones who provide constant affection. They are the ones who provide emotional contrast. A woman does not want a relationship that feels emotionally flat. She wants a man who challenges her gently, who inspires her, who brings out the parts of her she doesn't fully understand. A man who can shift her internal state, from comfort to curiosity, from frustration to clarity, from fear to trust. That is what emotional grounding does. It gives her something to rise into. When a man can hold emotional space without being controlled by her emotions, he becomes a mirror she grows from, not a pillow she collapses on. She respects him more. She invests more. She becomes intentional with her actions, her words, her energy, because she knows she is dealing with a man who moves from depth, not from insecurity. So understand this: women do not attach to men who give them everything. They attach to men who awaken something powerful inside them, a version of themselves they didn't meet before. Your stability becomes her safe place. Your presence becomes her clarity. Your depth becomes her desire. And the truth is simple: a woman doesn't fall for the man who makes her comfortable. She falls for the man who makes her feel alive.